What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. Now, we're a little bit behind when it comes to DC Comics. We gotta get caught up on everything going on with KO, we gotta get caught up on everything going on with the Absolute Universe. Which brings us to right here with Absolute Green Lantern, issue number 8 and 9. Now, we're just gonna quickly go over issue number 8 so we can actually get into what's going on in issue number 9. In Absolute Green Lantern issue number 8, what we really saw was an explanation on who Joe is in this universe. The accumulation of every single experience that she's had in her life. It has all led her down the path where she is today. A lot of it. A lot of her memories start the day that she came to Evergreen. Her father deciding to really bring her back home. After a divorce, he didn't really have anywhere else to go, so he came back to the one place that he remembers. His father was a very well-respected man in this community, believing that this small, church-like community would be a great place for his daughter to grow up. And it wasn't a bad community. It wasn't a bad place to grow up. In fact, Joe, she grows up to be a cop. And this is where she meets Renee Montoya. Now, her and Renee, they kind of click right off rip. And as they get to know one another and they get to really become closer, one night after a party, Renee tries to kiss her, and Joe pushes her away. In her mind, at least at this time, that's not her. This isn't who she is. Now, things would continue on. She would learn that her police chief is corrupt. After learning about this corruption, she confronts him. But even with this confrontation, it leads to nothing more than her quitting. She quits and she heads to the big old city of Coast City. And here in Coast City, she finds herself. She finds out who she really is. This is where she meets Cam. Now, her and Cam, they hit it off, and they hit it off fast. It's all hands and passion. But we also learned that Cam, she works for the DEO, the Department of Extra Normal Operations. Not only does she work for the DEO, but her work is her entire life. So much so that Joe really gets put on the back burner. But even so, Cam proposes and the two end up married. Even their wedding vows being absolutely fantastic. In brightest day and blackest night forever, they say I do. But the honeymoon phase, that went away very quickly. With Joe being left to her own accord for so often, Cam constantly being away at work. When Renee Montoya came into her life again, it was a recipe for disaster. A simple text message and coffee leads to a full-on affair. That affair, it leads to divorce. Probably at one of the worst times, because Joe's father dies. This is what takes her back to Evergreen. Now, in Evergreen, this is where she runs into some old friends. Guy Gardner, now police chief, she finds herself new operations, she finds herself working new jobs. And that takes us to present day. Her showing up in Coast City at Cam's apartment. Hal Jordan in hand. She's glowing green. And Cam tells him, come on in. That's what hops us over to issue number 9. Now, with Joe showing up there, we're picking up elsewhere. We're picking up with a man by the name of Stephen Dayton. And if that name sounds familiar, you might be a fan of Doom Patrol. Because Steve Dayton, he is also known as Mento. And right now, something is talking to him. It is telling him to be with fear. That the world that's coming comes closer. Every day, every hour, every second. Warn your planet. Warn your people. Fear the face of steel. Now, this is where we see Steve wearing his invention, his mental helmet. This is what allows him to be able to have telepathic abilities. When it goes on the fritz and he hears a knock at the door, he gets up to go answer, and this is supposed to be his friend. His friend Terry arriving with groceries in the whole 9 yards. But this is when Steve tells him, Steve, everything is going fantastic. In fact, I was just repeating the experiment. He tells him that I'm not hallucinating. We made contact. A connection to the thought process outside the human experience. The Mento device has reached a consciousness that's beyond this world. It spoke to him. It warned him. This is when Terry turns on him, and he fills him full of bullets. Terry is an assassin sent by Hector Hammond. He says that his name is Keith, but his call sign on this job is Nemesis. Now, this job obviously completed. He contacts Hector. He sent him in, this assassin, so he could get that Mento device. But Hector is also telling him that he has another job for him, giving him the details, giving him the name. His next assignment is Joe. Now, this is what takes us to Cam's apartment. And Cam obviously having a ton of questions, wondering like, what the hell's going on and why is your boyfriend sitting there on my couch? Obviously, Joe going on to explain, first of all, he's not my boyfriend. And like, I get you have a bunch of built up animosity, a lot of sharp daggers you've been waiting to poke at me after all of these years. Now I'm sitting here, your captive audience, and you just want to let loose. You want to let loose with both barrels and just give it to me. I get it. But right now isn't the time. Now, like two people that have been arguing for quite some time, got divorced, haven't talked to each other in quite a while. They're gonna argue. They're gonna argue about the relationship, how it ended, everything in between. And Joe really tells her, like, you loved your work. That's the only thing in life that you have ever truly loved. And man, lucky for me, a giant starship dropped on my hometown. My childhood friend infected with an evil shadow thing. Now he won't wake up. Her boss somehow becomes Space Jesus, full of cryptic warnings and something about a killer planet. And apparently her and some bird guy are being hunted because they're anomalies in the cosmic order of things. So now I get to be your work. Asking her like, do you love me yet? Do you finally just want to be around me? Now Cam, lighting up a cigarette, says, go on, tell me more about the bird guy. Even going as far as telling Joe, like, you're right. You are right about me. I can't turn it off. Now you told me this whole elaborate story, but so far everyone in your story was a human being. All but the original alien, Abenzor, guardian at the grain level. But the question now is, who is this bird guy you're speaking of? How does he fit into all of this? That's when she goes on to explain that Tamari, he's like her. Somebody who's got this power by accident. What is referred to as an anomaly. Like Joe in her wedding ring, absorbing all the energy, and when it did that, it imprinted that energy onto Joe. This allowed her to see things, to see visions. A man with hot pink skin, something soulless and metal growing into his mind. A face of steel. And then the anomaly of the red light. She saw him and he saw her. Now Cam really trying to figure out how all this works, what all this means, and what could even be possible. She tells Joe, take off your ring. Taking it off, Cam grabs it and she puts it onto her own hand. She then uses it. And she says, I don't think I could break a coffee table beforehand. It seems that this ring only works properly for Joe, but it's still a weapon, and one that is very powerful. And now that they've worked out how to make her vulnerable, Cam tells her to put the ring back on. After that, get to pen and paper and write down every single detail that you saw in your vision. She's gonna take off, she's gonna head to work, and she's gonna go and try to talk to Simon. Simon is her partner. Probably the only person that she thinks she can trust right now. She heads out, and this is where we pick up with Simon. We pick up with Johnny Double. We pick up with Agent Limbo. And this is really our introduction to the DEO. We learn that Simon, he wears this mask all the time because Dr. Silence, what he calls a minor ailment, he is not allowed to see his naked face or he will cease to exist. But really, they're here to report on any progress they made with the Evergreen event. Their progress. They identified Hal Jordan. Not only did they identify Hal Jordan, they traced him back to Evergreen. They know where he came from. Going through his social medias, he doesn't have anything private or secret. He's just a regular, everyday, run-of-the-mill guy. But what Simon recognized in some of his pictures, what he saw was Joe. He knows Joe because he was at Joe's wedding. Joe married Cam. And so Cam is connected to Joe. Joe is connected to Hal. Simon is thinking, maybe this is the direction we go. Maybe Joe is going to be what we need the answers to everything for. And so having this information, they head out, they go to investigate further. But what we learn is that Johnny Double, he picks up the phone immediately and he calls Hector Hammond. So when we pick up with Jo, she's currently writing down everything that she remembers in her vision, drawing as many pictures as she can to the best of her ability. When there's a knock at the door, she goes to see who it is, and it's the voice of Jon Stewart. Now she's wondering, like, what the hell is Jon doing here? Using her powers, we see that she's able to peer through the door, going and opening it up. Jon Stewart pulls out a gun, and he shoots her, as Jo takes one into the shoulder and drops down to the ground. Jon Stewart puts another bullet into her, and he goes on to say that it's a wonderful thing, social media. People hurling information all over the place. It wasn't difficult to find you, to find out people you know, people you care about. And what he shot her with was a golden bullet. Intel given to them by Rice. Todd Rice. Having a bullet in her shoulder, a bullet in her gut. This man obviously is not Jon Stewart. This is Keith. He is the assassin sent to take her down. This is Goldface. And that is where this issue will end. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Now this is an interesting character to bring into all of this. I kind of feel like this whole gold hurting the green thing, it really was just so that they could bring Goldface into this. Now Goldface has been a longtime adversary of both Green Lantern and the Flash. You know, they really are trying to dive deep into the catalog and just pull up some characters that haven't had the opportunity to shine in a while, and I'm kind of here for it. But Goldface is actually Nemesis as well. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see what they're going to be doing next and what direction this is all really headed in. Because while right now we're just dealing with, you know, human level problems, there's a much bigger problem on the horizon. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your theories. If you want to get caught up on everything that has been going on with the Absolute Universe, go ahead, check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. That's going to get you caught up on everything that has been going on so far within this series. If you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by joining the channel membership. This is a lot like Patreon, having multiple different tiers, from $1 to $50, loyalty badges to comics every single month. Not only are you helping out the channel tremendously, you're getting tons of perks in the process. Now, if you're unable to do this, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell, and with that being said, until the next breakdown.